Well, I guess I'm going to see a lot more Spy cosplay at Comic Con. Welcome to YouTube, guys. Freaky Fish Guy here with another video for you today for the Year of the Water series. Obviously, for those who are just joining us, guys, Year of the Water series is for the entire year of 2020. I can only use water attribute monsters. That's main deck, side deck, and extra deck. Only water, which really limits obviously my card pool, make things a bit more interesting for the year. So what we're going to go through today is the tech choices and side deck cards I could have available to me that I might think about using. Any suggestions, guys, please leave a comment below. I'm more than happy, guys, to take advice on this. I cannot check out every single card that lists water on its own. The way we're going to do this is we're going to go through each card that I've sort of looked at in the past week. I cannot use Ash, so I might need to find some alternatives for Ash Blossom, okay? So, moving on from Ash Blossom then, guys, the first card we're really going to look at is the only Ghost Girl we actually have available to us, and that is obviously Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. So, same as any other Ghost Girl, it's a zombie tuner, level 3, 0 attack, so it's obviously not meant to be used as a on-board monster. Its effect is obviously when you discard it, you can gain life points if your opponent starts special summoning cards. If they don't special summon, you don't gain life. Then you just half your life points. In a normal game of Yu-Gi-Oh, this is just there mainly used to, I don't know, cheese and time. It doesn't really have a use. It's not as applicable as any of the other Ghost Girls. It doesn't negate anything. It doesn't destroy anything. It doesn't banish anything. It's not actually that good in a normal state of Yu-Gi-Oh. My highlight of seeing this was in a YCS feature match. Some guy dropped it at game 3 with like a minute left on time. Yep, that's pretty much all it's there to do. In the Year of the Water series, this is actually one of the most main deck cards I'm going to be playing in every single water deck I play throughout the year, just because it is the only hand trap I have really available to me that is splashable, hence the pun. Yeah, I can gain a bunch of life off this maybe, and maybe sort of grind out the game from then on, but other than that, it's not really going to do a lot. It is a level 3 tuner, so we might be able to do things like Trish moving forwards, but I'm more just playing it because it's there, and if I find a better option, that'll be going in next. There are actually 2 other water monster hand traps that we can talk about. The next one also kind of fulfills the same role as Ghost Sister, so we've got Performapal Rain Goat. So for those who don't know, when a card or effect is activated that would inflict damage to you, I can discard this card, make that effect damage 0. The second effect isn't really applicable. So all it does is stop some effect damage. So maybe if there's an FTK format once again, something like Starving Venom, and maybe if that comes back with the FTK with the Lyrolust cards, I could, discard this and reduce it to 0. Unfortunately, Ghost Sister kind of already fulfills that role with us not dying to burn damage. So again, this is another water hand trap that, while has a use, is already power crept by the card we spoke about. So probably won't be using that one. And there's one last water hand trap monster, and that will be Mermail Abyssnare. So basically, for those who don't know, this is the equivalent of a water honest, apart from it takes 2 cards rather than just itself. You discard this card and then destroy one other water monster in your hand or field. Your monster gains that monster's original attack. So I can maybe, I don't know, destroy a Gamma on my hand, target a monster, it gains 2,200 by also discarding this card. So you're going technically -2 for an honest, so it's not the best. Although if Abyssnare does go to the graveyard from the field, you do get to draw a card, so there are some benefits for linking it away. Other than that, it's a water honest. It could see some use for find a deck that just pluses for free, so I don't really mind discarding, but it's in the tank, okay? It's a water honest. It could be quite fun, but once again, Spooky Dogwood is probably our best option because it is the least neg. It's just a neg 1 just to gain life points, I guess, which may have some use, especially going to game 3. There are actually quite a lot of good water attributes, spellcast type monsters in the game. So a common one would obviously be Blue Boy, so Spellbook, Magician of Prophecy. When it's summoned, you get to add a Spellbook of Knowledge or Secrets as the common thing you do, just to create a small draw engine. To go with that, what we actually have, again, we have Chocolate Magician Girl. So this is another spellcast type monster that is water. You can discard a spellcaster to draw 1 card. So these 2 can be used together to have sort of a mini draw engine. They're both water, and obviously because we have access to spellcasters, this could mean we could play some sort of weird stun water spellcaster deck. So playing things like Secret Village of the Spellcasters, which would obviously lock our opponent out of spell cards if we had a spellcaster on the board. We can also play things towards a stun deck, like things like Gendo the Ascetic Monk. So face up attack position monsters on the field cannot activate their effects, almost like a pseudo skill drain. It's quite a nice big body on 18 defense. It cannot be destroyed or targeted by card effects while it is in defense position. So this could work quite well with a water stun spellcast deck. Could be something to test around in. Another tool to this is obviously Altergeist Maluseek. This is also a water spellcaster, and it offers really good removal. If it swings, it can remove a card. Medium of the Ice Barrier, also a water spellcast type monster. I am currently playing this in my side deck, almost as a pseudo Pancratops. Going second, that also just shuts down back row. So these are all good options, guys, that we can play if we wanted to play a water spellcaster deck. Just tech into a side or main deck, guys. So I could tech in Altergeist Maluseek just to add some removal, especially in the side going second. Like I said, I am currently siding Medium of the Ice Barrier to shut down some back row decks. The last main deck monster I really want to speak about for this part of the video is General Raiho of the Ice Barrier. So when an effect resolves as activated by a monster on the field, your opponent's side of the field, so they must discard one card or their effect is negated. Not so good in the current format with things like dangers and maybe some Orcus running around, but again, another pseudo skill drain that could be quite useful. Moving on to spell cards then, guys, there's not really a lot of water spells that are actually that useful, not inside the vacuum of just them being cards. So the obvious one would be Pacifist. The field spell just makes water tokens. I quite like this card a lot. I used to play a deck that just revolved around this, making a level 8 water token. Unfortunately though, it does really lock us out of using like effect monsters, unless we sort of combine our deck to just revolve around the field spell. Another card that supports this high level water strategy would be Rage of the Karishin. So if Umi is on the field, target monster opponent controls up to the number of level 5 water monsters you control, destroy them, and the zones cannot be used. Really nice card in theory. It's a removal and sort of a lock on your opponent. Unfortunately though, it's never really going to be relevant enough for us to use it because we're not playing many level 5 or higher water monsters, especially in the Link area. So not in the side deck, not in the main deck, and probably won't ever be used. So then we've got things like Water Hazard, which once per turn lets you special summon a level 4 lower water monster from your hand. I did play this once for a Water Strength deck, although it's kind of slow for the modern format, so again, going to move away from that. Sealorm's Amulet is another continuous spell card. It's sort of like Swords, where it goes to grave in your opponent's third end phase. Water monsters you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. It could be nice. Unfortunately, there's not really a lot of destruction in the game right now. There's still a lot of, well, I guess actually Spiral Sleeper, but we have other ways of working around that, especially Marine says we have the field spell which protects us from that. Trap cards, this is where water support actually shines. There's a lot of really good trap cards that revolve around water monsters. One of my favourites that I am kind of thinking about siding for a meme, or if we actually take this challenge to higher levels, Diamond Dust. So destroy as many water monsters on the field as possible, then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each water monster destroyed. It's basically sort of like a Just Desserts, apart from it pops cards as well. You can use this obviously on your own board to burn in time, using things like Trap Trick to dig for it, and maybe Lilith. I actually really like this card. Unfortunately, we can't play Lilith, but we can only revolve around the Trap Trick. It could be used in our side deck, especially if we want to go to game 3. This combined with Dogwood would give us a really good option to basically cheese out some wins, which sounds horrible, but it might be the best option we have. Another trap card, so I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but we have S-Band. This is kind of new. While you have a water monster on the board and any other monster that is not water is switched to defense position. Sort of like a lose one turn, apart from it doesn't negate. Not really the best, because Links can play around that, so probably not going to play that. High Tide on the Fire Island, a really old school card from when Atlantean support and Fire King basically was like the main storyline at the time. Long story short, if you control a water monster, you can special summon as many water monsters that was sent to graveyard to activate monster effects that turn, then destroy one monster you control. It's basically Atlantean support. We could play like Marine Cess, Mermail, Atlantean, or just Mermail, Atlantean. Unfortunately, with that deck, you don't really want to play trap cards, so not so good for that. Moving on, Spiritual Water Oi, or Ahoy, basically. I'm, again, butchering this pronunciation. Tribute one water monster, look at your opponent's hand, and send one card from the hand to the graveyard. Really, really good, solid effect. Sort of like a Mind Crush, apart from you get to see your opponent's hand, definitely, and then pick one. The only downside is you do have to tribute a water monster. Could be quite good going forward, especially if we enter a slower format and we play things like Frog, Paleo, Marincess, or Frog, Paleo decks using a Trap Trip again to bring out these trap cards. I quite like this. It might be a side deck option going forward. White Howling. This is definitely a side deck card for me this year. Maybe even a main deck if we get into a format which revolves around spell cards, maybe like Sky Strikers, or if Necros become again a really top tier deck. If you control a water monster, target one spell in your opponent's control your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and then if you do, it becomes Imperial Order for the turn. So it's DD Crow for spells and Imperial Order in one card. Really, really, really strong card. Finally, the last trap card I really want to talk about is Sea Stealth Attack. This is my favourite trap card ever that revolves around water. Shout out to Ollie Roberts for having PTSD upon me messaging this card. When this card is activated, you can activate Umi from your hand or grave. That also includes things like Pacificus and Lemuria if you have them. While it's on the board, you can protect your other spells by banishing Water Monster. And level 5 or higher water monster you control basically become a Armades and destroy your opponent's monster at the start of damage calc. Really, really, really nice card. You can play this again with the Pacificus token to basically make a monster that can't be destroyed by battle. Also trap cards like, is it the Abyss Stingray? It becomes level 5 water while it's on the board. Again, just really, really good card. So our next section is actually going to be about the extra deck monsters that we have available to us. Obviously things like Trish and Brionac are fairly obvious. We're not really going to discuss them today. We're going to look at the things that aren't so well known. So the first one is actually the Water Shaddoll Fusion monster. Effectively that this stops things again like Necros being a problem where opponents cannot special summon cards from their hand with spell or trap effects. We can actually play this deck using only water monsters now with the new main deck Water Shaddoll monster, which actually has a decent effect. Basically, if it is sent to the graveyard, you can DD Crow your opponent's graveyard for 3. So it's quite nice, and again, we can play all water monsters still summoning this card, and it's got 27 attacks, so it's actually quite a big card. Another fusion monster, obviously Sea Monster Arthesius. This is a water monster and it is summoned by instant fusion, so it's a really good target for that. It could lead on to easier fusions. Maybe some rank 5 play. We don't quite know just yet what I'm going to take off from this extra deck choice, but again, it's a solid option as their best card of 2017. Coming out in the new set, we have Deep Sea Diva Princess Prima Donna. What a mouthful that card is called. Effectively, it can search a level 4 or lower water monster from your hand, or so you can special summon it by returning a banish opponent's card to their hand. So it's quite nice. It's kind of a reverse Omega, or you search by returning your opponent's banished resources to their hand. And if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a banished card, shuffle it into the deck. So it's kind of a bit removable for the banish pile. It's level 7 Synchro, so it's not too bad. The one I'm most hyped about coming out soon as a water synchro monster, Ravenous Crocosaur Archytus. For God's sake, the big crocodile one. It gains 500 attack and defense for each card in your hand, so almost like a Slifer effect. If it's synchro summon, you can draw cards up to the non-tuners that you use for a synchro summon, so you're probably going to draw 1 at least, maybe 2. You can discard 2 cards, quick effect, target and destroy 1 card on the field. So all in all, a really solid effect. It draws 2 cards, it pop cards, and it gains attack for the cards in your hand. It is level 9 though, so it's either this or Trish. It could see some use. I'm going to basically test out when it comes out. Finally, a last synchro monster, White Aura Whale. I've already been playing this deck, so on a summon it just destroys all your opponent's monsters attack position monsters, so it's quite nice. It is level 8 and it can come back from the graveyard if it is popped, so pretty easy to make. Pretty reliable coming back from the graveyard. All in all, a solid choice that I will probably include as we play more tuners and Master Rule 5 comes around. Then moving on to XYZs, we're only going to talk about 2 XYZs, so it's probably not going to be that long. The obvious one is Silent Honor Rock. This used to be a huge meta staple back in the day just because it was able to remove monsters quite well. We can actually go back into it, especially with Marincess. We can put out a lot of level 4s, and it's a good option basically just for removal. So expect that to pop up into our deck profile at some point. Another level 4 water monster, this is probably my favourite XYZ's card name, number 37, Hope Woven Dragon Spider Shark. So a really good mouthful. I love the art on this card. It just makes me want to play water monsters because it just looks so badass. 2 level 4 water monsters. When a opponent's monster, or any monster, declares an attack, you can detach 1, all your opponent's monsters lose 1,000. So it makes running over things like Borreload and all these options sort of easier. Borreload becomes 2k, which is then obviously beatable by most Marincess, Lynx and Toad. Yes, they can minus 500, but it just makes it easier to deal with. When it is destroyed by battle or card effects into the grave, you can target another monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So it can revive your Marine Cess Link monsters, which I kind of like the idea of. It could be playable. At the moment we're not, because we don't really have the space, but once again, we can include this in future deck profiles. Obviously you've got things like Bahamut, Shark and Toad. They don't really need to be spoken about. We are obviously going to play them. These were the cards that I want to talk about, guys. Like I said, if you're still here, thank you for the 3 people that are still listening to this. If you have any suggestions, please leave these down in the suggestions. I cannot check out every water monster or card ever. These are just things that I've looked at over the past week. I have some of them myself. I have a few of them recommended to me by my friends. All in all, not the best card choices. It's probably going to make this year quite interesting, so please stay tuned, guys, to see how I get on. I will be trying this challenge at events like regionals and a YCS, at least one, maybe a few more. So when we get to that juicy bit of the series, we'll kind of try and see me play these really wacky card choices in an environment they're not meant to be in. So stay tuned for that. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe these videos. It's quite a fun series to follow on. Go try it. Pick an attribute, pick a type, whatever you want, and go try and play a deck. Even just for locals, pick something different. Maybe find some inspiration. Okay. This was Freaky Fish Guy. Thank you for watching and listening to this video, guys. I will see you next time. Goodbye.